everybody, and God bless. So I had this dream a few days ago. Like I said, I'm going to put it down below of the day that I had the dream. So in this dream, I was like a superhero. In the beginning of the dream, I was a superhero, and I had a knowing that it was a group of us. Okay, it was a group of us, and we were a mixed group. It was like male and females. Okay, so I had a knowing that when we used our powers, it like freaked out people. Okay, so we tried our best not to use our powers when we didn't have to. And it's not like they were freaked out about us. Like they were, I guess they trusted us, but anytime we used our powers, that meant like it was a disaster. Okay, so we tried our best not to use our powers, and we found out that there was a natural disaster about to happen. Like the water was going crazy, fire was going crazy, wind was going crazy, and then the earth element was actually gold. So instead of like the earth shaking, it was just like gold, hot lava gold just appearing out of nowhere. And we all had different abilities. Some people had telekinesis. I had the ability to like blow cold air, and I had the ability to fly. So then we knew that this disaster was coming, and we knew how to stop it, and we were just about to go ahead and stop it, but the government showed up. And in this dream, the government and the people, like we had a knowing that the government and the people were on the same level, and then there was us superheroes, we were above. So we knew that if the government found out that we were about to do something, like use our powers and like that, and they were going to tell the people, and then everybody would be freaking out. And we were like, we could not allow them to know. In my dream, the government, in the dream, I knew they were not bad people. They just were on the same level as the humans. So obviously, you know, us humans got to stick together. And that's how I was thinking. I was calling them like humans in the dream. And so we saw outside of our facility, I guess, and we saw that a disaster was coming, and it was like, this is inevitable. We cannot ignore this. We have to go out. We have to use our powers. And I was the first person to use my powers, and I blew cold air on this big old tsunami that was coming. And I knew my team, like, they weren't mad at me, but it was just like, yeah, she had to do it. Like, she just had to. They didn't want me to, but she had to do it. So we started fighting off the elements, trying our best to save people. Some people didn't notice what was happening, so we were like, hopefully we could still like let this slide and not let anybody notice what we're doing. But we just kept on fighting and stuff like that. And then we had like nemesis from the past, and it was a father and a son duo, and they were flying on this thing. Like if you ever saw the first Spider-Man's, I think his name was Green Goblin, and that little contraption he would fly on, that's somewhat what it looked like. It's different, but that's how it, like, he was able to stand on it like that. I guess I could have said like a hoverboard, but yeah, he was like on it like that. And he had his son next to him because the father was controlling the contraption. His son was hanging off of him. And they also had powers to manipulate the elements. And so I knew they weren't in charge of what was happening, but they were using it. They were like, this is a great opportunity for us to use what's going on to create havoc. And I was like, no. So I hurried up, went to them, and because I was able to fly, as I was flying to them, there was a big old tsunami coming, and I had to freeze it. But to freeze it, I ended up freezing everybody and buildings because I had to stop it. But I had to know, for some reason, my freezing it wasn't freezing people to death. I knew they were still alive, so I knew I needed to hurry up and fix what was going on so I can get them out. But as I'm flying, I'm freezing, and then I got close to the father and son, and I pushed them into the water, in turn freezing them. And I looked around, and we were surrounded by water, surrounded by heavy winds. All the elements were coming, and it looked like we were losing the battle. And then all of a sudden, it was like I was taken out of that world. And I noticed that I was looking at my phone. Alrighty guys, so as you can see on the screen, this is just an example for what I saw. I'm going to continue to try and explain it after I say this part, but let's look at the one in the middle. See how it says popular on Filmrise, and then the next one says Great Britain Great British Drama, and see how there's like movies listed underneath it. That's what I saw, but instead the words were different, and I'll explain that later on. But I just wanted to show visually what I'm talking about. And I saw that, how do I explain this? So if you've ever looked at like Netflix or Pureflix or any type of movie, TV show thing, and you know how they have like a genre and it's like drama, and then underneath it'll be a whole bunch of shows or movies that go with that, and you can slide it to the side. That's how it looked at my phone. And I saw that the first genre said Christian, and it was all Christian movies, Christian shows. And then underneath that, it was the name of the show that apparently I was in. So in the beginning of this dream, what was going on was a show, and I was able to go into one of the characters of the show and really be a part of it. And I saw the name of this show, and it was a whole bunch of episodes, and it was saying that I watched the first episode. So the beginning of this dream was that first episode, and it was saying part 2 was the next one. And when I had this dream, my teeth were hurting really, really badly. I did this teeth treatment, and my teeth are too sensitive, and it ended up really, really hurting my teeth. So in the dream, when I saw my phone like that, my teeth were still hurting, and I knew that I was sick, and I knew I was sick in bed. And I said to myself that this show that I just came out of is a lot like the 144. I could probably learn so much, but I don't feel led by God to watch this. And I also know that I'm laying in bed right now and I'm not feeling well. And I know from previous experiences that when I've been sick in the past, if I go and watch something that's not a Christian show while I'm sick and in bed, I end up binge watching. I end up just sitting in bed, and I end up sitting in bed even longer, even after I've already started feeling better. And I remembered all of that, and I said to myself, I was like, I understand that this is very close to things that we've seen in dreams and things like that, but I do not feel led by God to watch this, and I sure as heck am not finna sit here and binge watch it while I'm laying in bed already sick. And I was telling myself, if I want to feel better, I need to fill my spirit with things that are actually of God. So I went ahead and I was about to click on one of the Christian shows, and I completely was like, this is what I'm going to do. So to explain this dream, I knew it was a test dream. I knew I was being tested to see if I was going to go back into do the things that I would do when I was sick, sit down and binge watch stuff I shouldn't be watching. And the dream was showing me that, yes, I passed, but it was also showing, it was a warning to, like, even though these things are, it could teach us things about the 144, and it could just show us like better in depth of things that like God has shown us, and maybe we've dreamt these things. But when you're already sick and you're laying in bed and things like that, that's not the time to feed your spirit with things that are produced by the kingdom of darkness, things like that. If that makes sense. Like, that's not the time to try and see secular movies and shows. I hope that makes sense. But that is the time to feed your spirit. So when I woke up, I started worshiping. I was watching Christian movies. And I literally felt so much better. And I know from the past, anytime that I was sick with anything, I'm normally in bed for like a week or two, almost every single time, because I was sitting in bed, either not feeding my spirit of things of God and just laying there, not doing anything, or I was watching something like a feel-good movie. And I've talked about this before, I think, but like a feel-good versus a Christian movie, like a Christian movie is actually going to feed your spirit and make you closer to God. And that's what this dream was showing me. Like, watch stuff that actually are faith like of God. Like, they mention God, they mention Jesus, they're actually teaching you more things about God, versus feel-good movies, just because they don't mention like sex or nudity and they don't cuss, all of a sudden it's a Christian movie and it makes you feel good. Like, that's not, to me, I don't care. That's still secular to me. That's not something that I should be filling my spirit with just because it's a feel good and it makes me feel good. Like, who am I? Okay, I need to fill my spirit. I need to feed my soul and get closer to God. So that's what this dream was saying. Like, you need to act while you're sitting here in bed laying down and you can't like get up and talk and things like that. You should make sure you are still feeding your spirit as best as you can. So that's what I started doing, and that was one thing. And then it was also showing like, don't put yourself in situations that you know are temptation. So like I said, in the past, when I was sick, I would sit there and feed my spirit with things I shouldn't be feeding my spirit with. And when I was sick, and I would try and justify it by saying, well, you know, this is similar to like 144, or this isn't satanic, and it's like a feel good, like it's a romance movie, and it's on PureFlix. So, you know, I was trying to justify it that way. And the dream was showing me that this is a temptation area for you. Is this temptation for you to watch something that you think is okay, and you will fall and you will binge watch, and you know that. So do not put yourself in that situation. And this doesn't just go for like TV shows and things like that. Like, I've seen people talk about how they go into bars, or they go into strip clubs to go minister. I've literally heard of these things, and I think I've talked about this before. I can't remember if I've already talked about it, but I know for a fact that I am working on a very long video right now, and I do mention it again in that. But we should not be putting ourselves in temptation areas. Even if you never fell into those things in the past, still do not put yourself in those situations. Do not go into Satan's kingdom and try and justify it by doing something good, just like I was trying to do by saying, oh, I'm just gonna watch like feel good movies, and I'm justifying it because, you know, it's not satanic. Like, anytime you feel like you have to justify what you're doing and justify, you know, what you're watching or hearing, I feel like you really need to take a self-evaluation and think, are you trying to force God to be with you, or are you actually with God? Okay, so God bless you. I'll have a next one.